Welcome to the Reluctant Sisters podcast. My name is Adrienne. I'm the Reluctant Knitter. You can find me on Instagram as the Reluctant Knitter or on Ravelry as Reluctant Knitter with no E in the knitter. I am coming to you from Southern Connecticut, where I live with my husband Sean and our Great Dane Elizabeth Bennett. We have a podcast group that is the Reluctant Sisters podcast group on Ravelry. So welcome new viewers. We have some new subscribers. We also have some new members to the Ravelry group. So thank you so much for joining us. We hope you enjoy it. I hope you enjoy it. Talking about like I have multiple personalities. I don't. I hope you enjoy it. And for returning viewers, thank you so much for watching. I know that there's a lot of things that you could be spending your time watching, and I'm really grateful that you're choosing to spend your time with me. So yeah, what I'm wearing, I'm going to try to stop saying that too, because I really hate that. Like, I hate myself saying like, so yeah, or all right, or okay. Like, I need to figure out a better way to transition. So what I'm wearing is Light Rain by Joji Locatelli. It is a pullover. It does have like a lace detail on the front. My dog is going crazy with her bed over there, so I just really am trying. I'm hoping she's not gonna like hit the chair or anything that my camera is sitting on. I've already restarted this podcast, by the way. Lizzie, stop it. So what I'm wearing, I am wearing Light Rain by Joji Locatelli. It is a pullover with a cowl neck. It does have a little lace detail down the front. It also has lace detail on the arms right here. It's kind of hard to see with the tweed, but anyway, I tried looking for my Ravelry project page for this, and apparently I did not make one. So this is in Knit Picks Stroll Tweed in the Flagstone Heather, and I don't think that I've worn it yet on the podcast, so that's why I wore it. But I made it some time ago, but I wouldn't know when because I didn't make a project page for it. All right. All right. So we have some KALs going on in the podcast group. I'm not going to go into all of the rules for all of them. I have a separate KAL update video, and also last episode I did go over all of the requirements for it. So I'll just go over what we're doing. So first we have a sock KAL. Generally speaking, it's adult socks, non-shorty, and there's no limit to how many you can enter. This is going on until March 31st. I am also going to do a Knit a Pair of Socks with Me video, which is going to be a separate video with a bunch of different techniques in there, how I knit my socks. If you want to participate, knit along with that, you'll get extra entries. If you comment you'll get extra entries. So please go over to the, I think it's the FO page that I have all of the rules in there, so you can figure out all of the entries that you can get. The next one is a Fiber Fest sweater KAL. So this is going on until November. So basically you don't have to be going to a Fiber Fest to participate. Any adult sweater gains you an entry with a limit of 2 entries. So 2 adult sweaters in this time period. If you are going to a Fiber Festival, you can post your picture of yourself wearing your sweater at your Fiber Festival a second time in the thread. So like I said, I don't want to go over the rules, but I'm going over the rules. Okay. So both of them, I do have prizes in the works, but I don't have prizes in hand. I'm still waiting on a piece or two. As soon as I have that, I will show the prizes on the podcast, and I will post pictures in the FO thread for those. So this is just a knitting podcast. I should have said that at the beginning, I guess, but I don't know how to do this thing. So I'm going to have FO, some whips. I also have what I'm watching, what I'm listening to, and a couple of extra things. I don't really go a ton into what I've been doing, but anyway, I'll have all my knitting content at the beginning if you're interested in that. Okay, so my first finished object is my Koba cat. So this is the Copa Cat knit by Caitlin Hunter. It's knit by me, designed by Caitlin Hunter. So this is a DK weight held double with mohair. So the DK weight is Cascade Yarns in La Merino, which I think is 50% llama, 50% merino. And the colorway Squirrel. So sorry. My dog tried to get me, she tried to give me her bone. There you go. You're okay. And this is held double with the Plymouth Yarn Kid Gloss. And I believe that the colorway is Chinchilla, I think. So yeah, and then I put a pom-pom on it. So this pom-pom is also another FO. I made some pom-poms. I got a kit at a local yarn shop. It's not my local yarn shop, but it is a local yarn shop, Driftwood Yarns in Groton, Connecticut. And it was 3 different colors. I'll show them in a second, but I made pom-poms, so I'll show those in a minute. But anyway, I think this one was the one that best matched. I'm not going to put the hat on because I've been suffering from severe static electricity in my hair. And also what I explained on the last podcast is that I am using my rear facing camera on my phone, so I actually can't see myself. So my fear is that I will take my hat off and my hair will be like electrified, and then I'll have no knowledge of that. So I'm not going to put it on, but I may insert a picture of me wearing it. But I really enjoyed knitting this. It was really easy, not complicated at all. And I really love the color. Like, I just love this like neutral kind of color. I don't know. I really enjoyed it, and it's very soft. I also wanted this to be done for Vogue Knitting Live in New York City, which is this weekend, which I'm attending. So I'm happy that I got it done. That's that. I think that's all. I think that's all I need to say. I knit this on a US size 4 for the ribbing and a US size 6 for the rest of the hat. Okay, so the other finished objects, which aren't knitting related, but it is crafting related, are the other 2 pom-poms. So there was one in white and one in this like black and white, black and cream, whatever. So I didn't know which pom-pom I wanted to put on the hat. They actually all look okay, but I do think this one is the best. But I mean, I did kind of like the way the white one looked. I tried to tie it in such a way, like I did tie it to a button on the inside, but I did have to like tie it in a knot because I was just like really afraid that it was going to come undone and I'd lose my pom-pom. So it's pretty permanently secured onto here. So I was thinking that I could possibly switch them out if I wanted to. I know that there probably are ways to secure a pom-pom where you can change it out. But I think maybe I could get a snap. If I sewed a snap to the top and sewed a snap to the bottom, maybe I'll do that at another time, because I actually do really like the way that the white one looks. But alas, I did this one. So anyway, those are my 2 pom-poms. So I need to knit more hats that will have faux fur pom-poms on top. So this is really easy to knit. I didn't knit this. It's really easy to make. And you can, I think, get faux fur in a square fairly inexpensively at like a Joann's or a Michael's. And it was really easy to do. So you just have a template, you knit a circle out. And I do think that Andrea from the Cat Lady podcast has made some. And so I think she talks about how she did that on one of her episodes. So yeah, I really want a pink one. I want a hat with a pink one. Ooh, should I have like tie them together and then I could have a mega pom-pom? No, probably not. So yeah, that's that. Those are all my FOs. So I have a hoe actually, which I never have hose because I knit my socks 2 at a time. So these are the socks that I am knitting for my Knit a Pair of Socks with Me video. I did just finish filming this one. So this is White Birch Fiber Arts. I think it's White Birch Fiber Arts. And the colorway is Study in Peach and Mint. And I got this at New York sheep and wool this year, last year, whatever, just in October. So I'm just doing a twist stitch on the sock. It's not really that big of a deal. I knit these toe up 2 at a time on a US size 1, 40-inch circular. So it's 2.25 millimeter, 100 centimeter fixed circular. So I just bound off this one. I bound them both off, and then I just filmed the knitting of the heel. So all I have to do is put the heel in on this one, and then I'm going to film a little introduction, and then I'm going to put it all together and upload it. So yeah, once that's done, I hope you guys go check it out. There's a lot of techniques that I used in this sock. So the first thing I did was a Judy's Magic cast on knit toe. Oh, this is not the toe, that's the heel. Judy's Magic cast on. I also did a round toe. So 2 at a time is a technique. Twisted stitch. I did a 2x2 twisted rib, and I did a Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off. And then I did an afterthought heel. And then it shows Kitchener. I Kitchenered. So I show how I Kitchener, which is the same as everybody else Kitchener. So it's not anything special. So yeah, so those are all the techniques that are used in these socks. If you're interested in learning any of them, I hope that you check my video out. And like I said, as soon as I finish the heel on the second one, I will film them. So that's that. I think that's all I have to say about that. I have another pair of socks on my needles. This is for my husband, Sean. So I'm calling these vanilla socks. They're not really vanilla. There is a little bit of a detail in them. So this is also in White Birch Fiber Arts. This is Express Yourself. So this is a 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, which is the same as the other ones. That's why I'm saying it, because I forgot the ball band for the other one. So this is what it looks like. So it's basically gray striped with different variations of red. There's even an orange in there. So yeah, I don't think he has any socks this color. So I'm excited about knitting these for him. I also needed a pair of socks that I just needed a project that I could bring to Vogue Knitting Live with me as well. I live about half an hour from the major train station. So we're going to go to the train station, and then it's about a 2-hour train ride into the city. So I'll have plenty of time to knit. And then, you know, when we're eating lunch or whatever it is that we're doing at Vogue Knitting Live, I'll also, I'm sure, have time to knit. So I wanted to cast something on that was pretty simple. So basically I'm just doing these are 72 stitches I'm doing. I'm knitting these on my carbons, US size 1, 2.25 millimeter, also 100 centimeter, 40-inch circular. So basically when the color changes, I'm doing just a purl ridge. So I'm just purling around. So that's it. I also have my Great Dane stitch marker on this. Looks just like my Lizzie Ben with the natural ears, and she's Merle. And I got this at, is it New England Fiber Festival? 2 years ago. Excuse me, 2 years ago. It's actually, the company is We Ones. I think it's We Ones on Etsy as well, and they're going to be at Vogue Knitting Live, which is pretty cool. So that's that. I'm housing this in my Fawn and the Fox. I think this is the mini, the mini project bag, but it's definitely big enough for a pair of socks. So if you wind your balls up separately, I don't know if you can see that because I can't see myself. So, and I think this was called Field Journal, this print. I really love it. So yeah, that's where it's living. Okay, so my last whip is my stone cutter. I did bring the ball band for my study in peach mint. Lizzie's checking it out. Don't do that, Liz. Okay, so this is my stone cutter, sweater, pullover, I don't know what they call it. And this is by Michelle Wong. So I am knitting on the, I think they have you knit the back piece first. So this is how far I am. Last time I showed it, I was where the stitch marker was. So I hadn't started the cabling pattern yet. And I also hadn't taken out the, I don't know if they call it a provisional cast on for the tubular cast on. So I still had like that waist yarn, which I've since taken out. Nothing bad happened. I was really freaked out. Nothing bad happened. It came out and it looks really good. Has faux fur all over it now though. So yeah. Okay. So I'm knitting these on my interchangeables. So these is Knitter's Pride. I think it's called Symphonies of Life interchangeables. This is a US size 8, 5mm. And I'm knitting this out of Miss Babs Yowza, which is a light worsted yarn. It is 100% superwash merino wool, and it came, I think it came in big. It was like 560 yards per skein, 8 ounces, so a double skein. Well, I don't know. I don't know if worsted comes in a 4 ounce. I have no idea. So it's 8 ounces. And this is in the Best Dressed colorway, which is a wild iris, which means it's not repeatable. And I got this at the Miss Babs booth at Rhinebeck 2018. I really love the color. I'm alternating skeins. I've never had to do that before. I've actually never knit a sweater out of like hand-dyed yarn. I've only knitted out of commercial yarn, I think. Yeah, that sounds accurate. So I am alternating skeins, which I've never done before. I think it's working fine. I also really messed something up over here. I don't think it's really going to matter because it's on the back. First of all, it's on the back of my sweater, so I'm never going to see it. Second of all, it's down at the bottom, so I really don't think it'll be that noticeable. But I don't know what I did, but there's yarn overs here. And I think I dropped one, so I tried to pick it back up, and I don't know, it looks really weird. So this side, that's what it's supposed to look like. But I'm pretty sure that it won't really matter, I guess. I don't know. And I'm certainly not ripping back cabling. And it's also a very dark color. I mean, it's exactly the color that I wanted, and I'm obsessed with it. I love it so much, but it is difficult to see when you're like knitting at night with just like your regular lights on, you know. It can be challenging kind of to see. So yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like, no, all right. I guess it looks good. I guess it looks okay. I'm really terrified of this pattern. I've said it every single time I've talked about it. I'm terrified of it, but I'm just going really slow. I did mention that I had printed out the pattern, which I never ever do. So I printed out the pattern for it, but I did actually end up downloading it to my Knit Companion, which I think is, I think I said this before too, it changed the name from Knit Companion to Legacy KC. I did actually end up doing the chart because first of all, they give you two copies of the back charting, which I'm also assuming is the front charting as well. And the first one they give you looks like this. And this is for digital readers. So it's all on one sheet. I mean, that's just crazy. So then the second version they give you, or the second copy they give you, is actually on 2 pieces of paper. So it's bigger. So I don't know if I want to show you the front, but anyway, I put them both together. So, and then I just taped them in the middle. I mean, if you're going to freeze frame that and zoom in, then you go. But I guess you don't really know how many, well, you know how many stitches it is, but it's not really going to get you very far. But so anyway, that's what I did. Now, I also highlighted, as you can see, I highlighted every other row so that it kind of would help me, but it didn't end up helping me because it's still so god-awful small. So I did actually end up just downloading that one page to my Knit Companion because then I can zoom in. And my Knit Companion also has, it has like a line that you just pull down, you know, so you can show where you are so you don't lose your place, which was worrying me that I might lose my place in the chart. So it's really been working out. You know, I just go real slow, and I do end up having to have the printout of like the stitch descriptions. Yeah, the stitch descriptions. So that's been helping. I've had both my iPad and this out. So, but it's going well. And I have this in my tote, Edinburgh Castle tote. I've never been to Edinburgh, but my sister's husband, so my brother-in-law, he's in the Navy, and so he was there and he sent home bags. So I'm really excited. I toyed with the idea of possibly being able to go to EYF this year, but we're not going to really know if we're going to be able to afford it. And I think that the tickets are already sold out, but we might still go to Scotland this year, but we're not going to EYF. So anyway, it's probably a pipe dream anyway. Okay, so that is all my FOs and my whips. Okay, so what I'm watching knitting wise, I'll do a podcast recommendation. I'm watching the Knitting Annihilator podcast, and that's with Akira. She's really cute. She's young. She's got a little baby. I think she lives in Alabama. So that's definitely interesting. What that must be like is knitting when you're in a really warm, can be very warm climate. But she's fun and spunky. And yeah, so that's what I've been kind of watching lately on the knitting front. What I've been watching non-knitting is my husband and I have really been into Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, which is a show on Netflix with Jerry Seinfeld. And he has like usually a vintage car, sports car usually, but a vintage car, and he goes and picks up a comedian and then they go get breakfast. Or something involving coffee. So it's been pretty funny, but there are some people, like every time there's like just an actor, not a comedian on it, or like they're not a comedian, we get all salty about it. But it's actually been pretty funny and we've been enjoying it. The other nice thing that we like about it is that it's really short episodes. They're like 16 minutes. The one with Jimmy Fallon was a 2-parter, so it ended up being like a half an hour, but they're really short episodes. So if you don't have a lot of time or you're just trying to, you know, wind down or whatever, it's really fun to put something on that's not, you know, like a drama or like something like whatever. It's just a pure entertainment. All right, so there's a couple of things that I'm listening to. The first one I'm listening to is a brand new podcast put out by Vogue Knitting, and it's called Knitterviews. So they've just had the first episode, who is, they're interviewing Meg Swansen, who you probably all know, but anyway, she owns or runs Schoolhouse Press, and she is the daughter of Elizabeth Zimmermann, who is like the mother of knitting apparently in America, which I'm gonna admit I didn't know who Elizabeth Zimmermann was. And this is why I've been knitting for like 3 years, I think. Is it 3 or 4? I don't know. And I often say that I'm like a new knitter. I'm a fairly new knitter is how I describe myself, and a lot of people think that that's not accurate, because while I have not been knitting for very long, I tend to be very ambitious with my knits. And so I actually posted something on Instagram about this, where basically the type of knitter I am is I knit what inspires me. So it really doesn't matter if I've ever done it before. How I kind of got into knitting, I just saw something that I wanted to knit and I said, I want to learn how to knit that. And I did. I didn't know anything about any kind of techniques. Like, everything I had to either Google or my sisters showed me how to do it. It's not like I knew, you know, and you're always going to have that. Like, you're always going to have something that you've never done before. But like, I literally only had ever knit like a mitered square for like a Cozy Memories blanket. And then I saw a stuffy and I was like, I want to knit that. And it was basically like all these hexagons, pentagons, like all these little shapes. And it was really crazy. So it was on little needles. I think it was on a USI 0. It's crazy. And I was like, that's really cute. I want to knit that. And so literally the only thing I'd ever done before was cast on and decrease. I did like I think it was like a double decrease is what I had done for the mitered square. That's all I'd ever done. So now I was doing all these kinds of crazy things. I think it was knit and magic loop. I think it was knit magic loop. And it was like you had to pick up and knit off of each thing. It was crazy. So anyways, the point of that story is that I call myself a fairly new knitter, yet I knit like 5 sweaters last year. So, I mean, it is kind of, I guess it is kind of inaccurate as far as like the array of types of knitting that I've done, but as far as the length of knitting I've done, I am a new knitter. So anyway, where I was going with that is this is why I call myself a new knitter, is that I didn't even know who Elizabeth Zimmermann was. I'd heard the name before, but I didn't know who she was as far as the impact that she had on knitting. So that leads me to, so first of all, when I listened to the Vogue knitting Knitterview, I really enjoyed it. It was really good. It's something I can listen to in the car, which is awesome. You know, it was a really good interview with Meg Swansen. So anyway, moving on to the segment, what I've Googled, which I started last podcast, and I think it should be an ongoing thing, provided I Google something interesting. I'm not just going to tell you, like, I Googled how many, which is most often what I'm Googling is like, how many tablespoons are in a cup? So I'm not going to share that kind of stuff with you, but anything that I found like kind of interesting that I think maybe you guys would find interesting. So you might not find it interesting that I don't, well, you might find it interesting that I don't know who Elizabeth Zimmermann is, but if you know who she is, I doubt that there's very much I can tell you that would be interesting. However, I didn't know that, well, I didn't know anything about her, but maybe you don't know this. Her mother invented Meals by Motor, which is the British forerunner of Meals on Wheels. I mean, I thought that was very interesting. Her mother invented Meals on Wheels. It's pretty cool. And then she's also credited with knitting the first example of an Aran sweater, which I'm sure a lot of you guys know. If you know who she is, you know that. But something else I didn't know, which also is what I think is on my side for calling myself a new knitter, is that I didn't realize that an Aran sweater was actually like a style of sweater. I thought when people said Aran sweater, they meant like Aran weight. But really it's a sweater, like a sweater design that is typical to the Aran Islands off of Ireland, which I didn't know that. It's basically, so when I was knitting, when I started the stone cutter, it actually says that in the beginning, a little blurb. I don't think I have that. I do. Yeah. So the little blurb for the stone cutter from the designer: to give the basic Aran pullover a little pizzazz, I added the bias cables on the front and back pieces. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, is this supposed to be Aran weight? And then I looked and I'm like, no, it's worsted weight. So then I was like, okay, well, that's weird. I don't understand why they're calling it Aran, because it's an Aran style sweater, not Aran weight. Duh. So anyway, a couple of fun things that I learned this week. And, you know, we should always be learning. I mean, like I said, there's probably always techniques that you have never done before. So Elizabeth Zimmermann also is credited with like not inventing, but like really getting circular knitting off the ground. So basically this Aran sweater, which I thought was very interesting, it's not the first Aran sweater ever knit, but it's like the first example of an Aran sweater knit up, I guess. But and she didn't design the sweater, she just knit it. But this sweater, she actually also knit in the round, which was, or yeah, knit in the round, I guess, or on circular needles, which was not common back then. Knitting back and forth was common on straight needles. And when she submitted or was it this pattern or was it another pattern? I can't really remember. Maybe it was a completely different pattern, but she submitted it to be published and they rewrote it so that it would be on straight needles. So then I think she actually republished it on her own or in some book or something like that, because whatever. So anyway, she was innovative, very innovative knitter. So yeah, and then I think she was also an advocate for like I think it's called continental knitting, where you knit with you hold your working yarn with your non-dominant hand. So that was kind of a tangent. I don't even know if it was like even coherent. Anyway, this whole talking to the camera thing by yourself in a room by yourself is really strange. And when I watch podcasts, I don't think it's strange. I know that's what they're doing, but it doesn't seem like that's what they're doing. But then when you're actually doing it, you're like, there's no one in this room with me. And I'm just talking to a camera. And I'm not even talking to anybody because there's no one there right now. There's no one there to look at it until I upload it. Weird. All right. Going backwards to the second thing that I'm listening to is I'm still listening to Cold. It is a slow listen. So it's basically about that guy, I can't even remember that, Powell, Josh Powell, who, Susan Powell, his wife went missing. They never found her body. And then he ended up killing himself and their 2 young children in a house fire in Utah. So this wasn't that long ago, early 2000s. So, not giving Elizabeth enough attention. So, so it's kind of a slow listen. I don't really love the way that the narrator, Liz, I don't really love the way the narrator talks. And it's also very strange to me now. Maybe this isn't strange. Maybe this is something a lot of people do, and I just never realized that a lot of people do it. But literally every single person in this family kept a journal. So, and we're not talking about like journal, like journaling, like a planner, like people journal nowadays, like a planner with like little blurbs about what you did that day or whatever it is. Like legit, like a diary, like writing every night, dear diary. I didn't realize adults did that, but the dad does it, Josh does it, Josh's dad does it, Josh does it, and Susan does it. So that I think is also strange. Josh also did this weird thing where he did audio diaries, which I don't know, is that any stranger than podcasting? But I guess it is, because when you podcast, you're like out to the world. I'm not like documenting my day verbally to myself. But anyway, maybe it's not strange. Maybe a lot of people do it. So, but I find that interesting. The other thing that I don't like about the podcast is that it's really heavily narrated. So it is a true crime podcast, but the narrator is talking about an event that happened. So basically he's talking about this one part of the episode. He's talking about how Susan came home from work. Josh had made, it was her birthday. Josh had made her a birthday cake. Okay. The kitchen was a hot mess. It was like crazy mess, chocolate everywhere. The cake wasn't even frosted. It was like dirty dishes all over the place. Okay. So he's recounting this situation, and he says, as Susan plunged her hands into the soapy dishwater, like, how does he know that? She was thinking, blah, blah, blah. How does he know that? Now, generally speaking, when they talk about something, they'll say, Susan wrote in her diary that she felt this way, or journal, or Josh wrote in his journal, or according to Josh's video journal. And then they'll like actually play, or the audio journal, they'll actually play the audio journal. She does a lot of Facebook messaging back and forth to friends too about her personal situation. And so according to Susan's Facebook message to her friend, she said, but how do you don't know what she was like thinking when she was in the kitchen, cleaning the kitchen up after her birthday dinner. Like, it didn't say, like, in her Facebook message, she said she was feeling like Josh didn't care. Like, they don't say that as she plunged her hands into the dirty dish. So it's almost like, it's like a dramatization of a true crime, almost. Like, it is true crime, and it is like not dramatized because there are actual excerpts from their diaries and from their audio diaries, but I don't know. And then the father-in-law carried a camcorder around. Now, I understand that we all have video and like cameras and recordings on our phone nowadays, right? Okay, so we're literally documenting almost every single part of our life on social media. I take 1,000 videos of my dog, but he was like videotaping weird, mundane things. Like, he was giving her a ride from Washington to Utah or something, wherever they were. And he like had the video camera out when she like came into the car. And then he put it down and he thought that I'd stop recording, but it was actually recording. So I understand that. But like, I don't know. Weird. Like, I documented like my trip to the Outer Banks, but that was pretty much because it was like a family trip with my dog. My dog also has her own Instagram if you want to check her out, The Real Elizabeth Bennett on Instagram. But anyway, it was like kind of for like that, for like social media, for like my knitting social media. Like, it's not like for personal stuff. Like, but maybe it's not weird. Maybe it's not weird. Maybe having a video, I mean, there were cell phones and stuff, obviously, in the early 2000s, but I don't think a ton of them had like video yet, video capability. And I don't remember when iPhones came out, but I certainly didn't get an iPhone as soon as it came out. So maybe having a camcorder and documenting your car ride with your daughter-in-law down to Utah isn't that strange. I mean, some people think my dog sleeping is super mundane, and I love to take videos of her sleeping because she's so stinking cute. I don't know. Anyway, it's weird. It's a weird podcast, and they're creepy. I mean, they're supposed to be. I mean, they're supposed to be. He's obviously like a murderer. I guess not obviously. They never found her body, but they think that he murdered her, so it shouldn't be that weird to me. Anything he does. I don't know. There was something else I was going to say about it. Oh, also, when I was listening to, I've talked about this before, Crime Writers On, which is another podcast where they review like true crime, either on Netflix, podcasts, TV shows, all that kind of stuff. They were talking about how, and it was never disclosed, and they found it very strange that the narrator himself is a member of the LDS Church, which Josh and Susan Powell were Mormons, so they were members of the Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Okay, so that's known, right? The narrator is a member of the LDS Church and also the like publisher of the podcast. Producer of the podcast is an LDS organization. So that was an interesting factoid. And it is kind of like, I guess it is kind of narrated in that air of like, Josh left the church and went crazy. And when Josh was in the church, he was doing great. And Susan was doing great because she was in the church. So I guess some people might think that that is a little bit of a biased perspective of the situation because the whole thing is produced and the guy is a member of the LDS Church. So they are going to put it in a light where the members of the LDS Church are, I don't want to say as good and bad, because I don't think that's necessarily what they're doing, but like painting, I don't even know if they are painting him. He could have really, what happens is when you're in a situation like that, when the producer is a member of the church in this specific situation, or it could be in anything, like it could be a podcast about anything, and the producer is biased to that. They actually might not be putting it in that light, but you kind of assume that they are putting, or you don't know if they're not. So like when Josh left the church, he was like crazy. And when he was in the church, he was much better. That might actually be the case, that when he was off on his own, he was crazy. And when he was a member of a community, he was better. But now it's like you think, like you don't know if they're being biased. Maybe he wasn't that crazy when, I mean, he was crazy. So I'm not saying that he wasn't. But like, it's just hard for you it's hard for you to assume that they're not being biased because you know that they're a member. And it could be like it's not like an unbiased view. Whatever. Listen to it or don't listen to it. I'm listening to it. I can't remember. Am I on episode 4 or 5? I don't really know. I also don't know what time it is, so I just checked. All right. So I think that's it. I kind of went off on a couple of tangents, but that's okay. Coming up, knitting related, not really like life related, because I don't really talk too much about that, like what I've been doing personally, but I am going to Vogue Knitting Live in New York City on Saturday, the 26th. I'm really excited. I've never been before. So I'm excited. I'm going with my sister, Sarah, and I'm going with a couple of friends, which is very exciting. And this is also one of my friends. She's young. She's 16. She 15? 16. Sorry, Sophia. I can't remember. Younger. 15 or 16. 14, 15. Anyway, this is her first fiber festival. So that's very exciting. So that'll be really fun. So I just want to show you what I have done if you are going to New York Fiber Festival. This was really difficult to even find. I'll try to put down, because now I don't even remember what it was, where I even found it. So I'll try to put it down below, not down below, but on the screen where I found it on the Vogue Knitting Live website. But there is actually hotel map and information. They did have like a list of vendors that's very easy to find, but it's like, what booth are they in? I don't even know. So I printed it out. There is a coat check, $4 for a coat check, which I was talking about the other day. last podcast. I don't know if they're going to have a coat check. So it does have a map, but then it also has a list of vendors by floor with their booth numbers. So I actually went through and made sure to highlight cat sandwich fiber is going to be there, and I'm really excited because I really love their colorways. So I highlighted where I wanted to go because it's big. There's going to be a lot of vendors there, and I don't want to get distracted and not make it to the places that I really want to go. So that's what I ended up doing. So I really want to go to Cat Sandwich Fibers. I want to go to Brooklyn General Store because La Bien Aimée is going to be there. Nitty City I want to go to because Once Upon a Corgi will be there between 3 and 4. And I've already seen her. She's from Connecticut too, Gabby. Hand dyer in Connecticut. So I've actually seen her stuff before, but I want to go. Miss Babs will be at Stephen B. And Espace Tricot will be at the Knitting Place, which I'm excited because I met them when I was at Rhinebeck, and so I'm excited to go see them again. I don't think that they're going to have any. They might just be hanging out there like meet and greet. So one of the things on my list is a sweaters quantity of indie dyed yarn. I've never, I mean, this I'm knitting a sweater out of indie dyed, but I want like a really fun kind of speckly, I think I want to do, is it So Faded by Andrea Mowry pullover. I really want to do that. So I'm really hoping that I can find a fade. I'm not really that wonderful at putting fades together. So I'm really hoping that some indie dyer will have like a fade kit. If they don't, my sister will be there, and she's usually a really, really good resource for picking out colors and things like that. So I want to do that. That's on my list of things. So I guess that's it. I don't know when my next podcast will be, but I think my next one will be a vlog of Vogue Knitting Live and a haul. So that should be fun. I guess that's it. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you really liked it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.